You just took a sip of Smartwater, thinking you made a healthier choice. Clean, premium, better than tap. But what if that sleek bottle is selling you an illusion? From microplastics and marketing tricks to environmental controversies and misleading claims, there's a lot the label doesn't explain. Before you buy another Smartwater, there are things you need to see. What Smartwater really is. Smartwater is marketed as a premium bottled water brand owned by the Coca-Cola Company, and it presents itself as a crisp, clean hydration choice instead of plain water. But many people decide to buy this water because of how it's made, and they never forget to add this in ads. The water undergoes vapor distillation, a process inspired by the natural water cycle in which the water is boiled into steam and then condensed back into liquid. This removes impurities and most naturally occurring minerals. According to the company, this process results in very pure water. After distillation, Smartwater doesn't leave the water bare. The brand adds small amounts of electrolytes, especially calcium chloride, magnesium chloride, and potassium bicarbonate, to give the water a distinctive taste and a crisp mouth feel. These electrolytes don't add anything healthy to the water as you might think, and the only thing they do is adjust the flavor because the distillation process strips nearly everything out of the water. In fact, the final electrolyte content in Smartwater is much lower than you think. It's even comparable or less than the mineral content in typical tap water, so there might not be any difference between your bottle of Smartwater and whatever is coming out of your tap. Smartwater doesn't serve as a meaningful electrolyte supplement. The original distillation has already removed all the minerals in the water, and so the added electrolytes mainly serve taste and marketing purposes, instead of nutrition. Smartwater's production process is nutritionally useless as a selling point. The water might taste clean and consistent, but it doesn't give you any advantages over safe municipal tap water or simple filtered water. So, what is Smartwater? Well, like many other water brands, it might just be tap water bottled, packaged, and sold at a premium. Bottled water is tap water. Smartwater and other bottled water brands aren't the untouched liquid you might imagine. In fact, a large portion of it starts life as the same municipal tap water that flows from your kitchen faucet. Many of the biggest brands on the market, including household names like Smartwater, Dasani, Aquafina, and others, source their water from public water systems before filtering and bottling it. Industry data shows that an estimated around 64% of bottled water sold in places like the United States comes from municipal tap water supplies, even if the labels or marketing suggest otherwise. These companies take water that has already been treated for drinking by local authorities. The water purified by the government has already gone under strict regulatory oversight, even stricter than bottled water itself. Then, the bottled water company will run it through additional purification steps such as reverse osmosis, ultraviolet light, or ozone treatment. The purified product might taste slightly different or feel cleaner, but that's because the bottled water company has stripped the water off most dissolved minerals and then sometimes enhanced them with trace minerals for flavor. But the core water came from tap water. Tap water isn't unsafe. In fact, tap water is safe in many countries and subject to frequent testing, but because of the packaging and advertisement of bottled water, everyone thinks the latter is superior. Even if bottled water is gotten from tap water, it is usually marketed as if it comes from exclusive springs or untouched natural sources. The reality is that even if the bottle is labeled as spring water or artesian water, there's a good chance that it started as municipal water and was only filtered, repackaged, and sold at a massive markup. That markup is part of the reason bottled water can cost hundreds or even thousands of times more per liter than what you pay for tap water at home. Next time you reach for a Smartwater bottle, you might be wondering, am I really paying for cleaner water, or just repackaged tap water with a pricier label? Before you start gulping down Smartwater, you should ask yourself whether this water is as safe as it's advertised. Electrolytes don't add any nutrients to Smartwater, but it might just have microplastics every time you take a sip. Microplastic contamination in Smartwater. When scientists test bottled water, including major global brands, they consistently find tiny plastic particles called microplastics and even nanoplastics. One landmark research project sampled 259 bottles across 11 brands and 9 countries, and found out that 93% of all bottles contained microplastic contamination, with an average of about 325 pieces per liter and some bottles showing thousands of particles. These particles aren't limited to Smartwater, but they appear across bottled water products regardless of label or price. The contamination likely comes from multiple points in the bottled water process. Microplastics can come in because of the plastic packaging itself, the bottling and manufacturing steps, and even bottle caps and handling during transport and storage. Some experts have even found hundreds of thousands of tiny plastic fragments per liter when looking at nanoplastics that are too small to see with the naked eye. Even when plastics are labeled BPA-free, as most single-use water bottles are, the water is still not free of plastic particles or chemical leaching. BPA-free materials can still shed microplastics and other plastic-derived compounds into your water over time, especially when bottles are exposed to heat, sunlight, pressure, or repeated handling. Microplastics are defined as plastic fragments smaller than 5 mm and nanoplastics are smaller still. Both can pass into the water you drink. These particles may also carry additive chemicals or absorb pollutants that attach to the plastic surface. As new research has revealed, microplastics are already being detected in human organs and tissues. But we still don't know the clear impacts on human health. The World Health Organization also stated that current evidence doesn't show clear health risks at typical exposure levels and has asked for more research. But it's clear that microplastics in drinking water come from plastic bottles and caps. So, if you're drinking Smartwater, you might be consuming microplastics all the time. Meanwhile, if you get water directly from the tap, there's no need to deal with plastic. Bottled water isn't as pure as the label suggests, and it might not only affect your health, but also the environment. Severe environmental impacts. The environmental cost of drinking Smartwater goes far beyond convenience and refreshment. Plastic water bottles used for Smartwater and other premium brands contribute massive amounts of waste and greenhouse gas emissions throughout their life cycle. Building a single PET bottle requires extraction and refining of fossil fuels like oil and natural gas to produce the plastic resin. This process is energy-intensive and contributes a lot to carbon emissions and climate change. The manufacturing and transportation of these bottles, coupled with energy used in bottling and distribution, increases the environmental footprint compared with alternatives like tap water. Once you drink your Smartwater, the bottle doesn't disappear. PET plastic can take hundreds of years to break down, and even then it fragments into smaller pieces that persist as microplastics in soil, waterways, and oceans, harming ecosystems and wildlife. Recycling rates are very low today. A large share of PET bottles, well over half in many regions, end up in landfills or as environmental litter instead of being recycled. Bottled water's carbon footprint has been influenced by production but also transportation over long distances. When Smartwater and other brands are shipped internationally, such as from France or the South Pacific to North America, it increases the transport-related carbon costs, therefore raising greenhouse gas emissions far beyond what is needed for local consumption. Even when bottled water companies like Smartwater claim to implement sustainability measures, the scale of bottled water consumption increases the negative impact on the environment. Global production numbers are staggering, at hundreds of billions of bottles annually, meaning that even incremental improvements in bottle design or recycling have little defect. So, except if the world stops drinking too much bottled water, the environment would continue to be affected. Meanwhile, the entire bottled water supply chain depends on fossil fuel, and this eventually affects climate change, habitat disruption, and resource depletion. On the other hand, tap water delivered through infrastructure to homes has a far lower environmental footprint because it eliminates plastic packaging and long-distance shipping. When combined with reusable bottles, tap water can reduce plastic waste and carbon emissions compared with single-use bottled water. The safety of bottled water doesn't only affect the environment, but sometimes it also affects us humans. Smartwater has had its history of safety issues, and other brands have also been recalled just because they made mistakes in bottling water. Historical safety issues. Premium branding and fancy packaging doesn't mean your bottled water is in pristine quality, even for the most hyped names in the industry like Smartwater. Smartwater has not yet had any safety issues aside from the presence of microplastics in the bottled water. The bottles are made from PET1 plastic, which can cause health risks. Aside from that, Smartwater has been accused of marketing ordinary water with a scientifically sounding but completely unnecessary production process while selling it for a high premium. Smartwater has been sourced from municipal water supplies, not from some pristine source that you might think. Other famous bottled water brands have had some safety issues. Coca-Cola's Dasani was recalled in the United Kingdom in 2004 after tests found elevated levels of bromate, a potential carcinogen, in bottled samples during launch. The company pulled about 500,000 bottles from sale and ultimately withdrew Dasani from the UK market due to the contamination and public backlash. Perrier, one of the world's most famous mineral water brands, faced an even larger crisis in 1990 when benzene, another carcinogen, was detected in its bottled water, leading to a global recall of around 160 million bottles across more than 100 countries. It defeated their reputation despite the later assurances that the level of carcinogen in the water didn't pose a direct health risk. More recently, Perrier has encountered bacteriological contamination concerns and regulatory scrutiny over purification methods and quality standards. Millions of bottles had to be destroyed while the government investigated the source of the water. Fiji Water, marketed as pristine artesian water, also ran into safety issues in 2024 when certain 500 ml lots were voluntarily recalled due to elevated levels of manganese and the presence of bacteria in testing, causing the FDA to call this a Class 3 event. This means that the health consequences might have been unlikely, but it's still unsafe. When you buy bottled water, you might think you're buying quality and luxury, but these brands are not immune to contamination or quality problems. So, whenever you get Smartwater, are you paying for quality water, or just for marketing? Cost comparison. Bottled water like Smartwater can cost literally thousands of times more than tap or filtered water for the exact same basic hydration. Industry cost estimates show that Smartwater and similar distilled bottled water can work out to around $6.78 per gallon when compared to tap water priced at any tiny fraction of a cent. That means you're paying over 3000x more than tap water for the same H2O. You can buy a 1L bottle of Smartwater in the roughly $2 to $2.50 range, which is about the same price as bottled water pricing across many brands and markets. At those prices, if you only drink bottled water for a year, your annual spend could easily approach about $2,000 or more per person. This cost simply doesn't make any sense when you compare it to tap water. Municipal tap water costs a really small fraction of a penny per litre, usually under 1 cent per litre. Even if you install a home filter to improve taste or remove specific contaminants, the cost per litre remains orders of magnitude lower than buying bottles every day. Filtration might add a few cents per litre at most, but that is still much cheaper than paying for plastic, branding, bottling, and retail markups. The price difference comes down to what you're actually paying for. In bottled water, you're largely paying for packaging, distribution, and marketing, instead of water quality or purification that is supposed to be better than tap. So, when you drink your Smartwater bottle, the underlying product often costs a tiny fraction of what you pay at checkout. For most people, choosing bottled water over tap or filtered water ends up being a costly habit instead of just a way to drink good water. If tap water delivers the same hydration and similar safety standards, is the extra cost for branding and packaging really worth it? Smartwater makes you feel like it is, especially with their marketing strategies. Marketing versus reality. Smartwater marketing makes you feel like you're buying something extraordinary. Coca-Cola promotes it as water distilled in a way inspired by the clouds, boiled into steam, and recondensed to remove impurities, then remineralized with electrolytes for a crisp, clean taste. The brand focuses on water distillation and added minerals, promising that the water offers a different drinking experience that stands out from ordinary bottled water. The premium image is made even more popular with high-profile celebrity campaigns. Actors like Jennifer Aniston helped define Smartwater's upscale persona for over a decade, and more recently, Gal Gadot and Zendaya have been featured in global advertising, presenting hydration as part of an aspirational, health-conscious lifestyle. Despite the glossy bottles, celebrity faces, and emotionally appealing ads, the reality is much simpler. Smartwater is purified water with a small amount of added electrolytes for taste. The water isn't gotten from exotic springs or endowed with unique health benefits. Instead, it's engineered to taste clean but doesn't really do anything for you. Some consumer advocacy groups have criticized the brand's marketing, saying that its scientific framing doesn't translate into real nutritional advantages. In fact, in Germany, Smartwater was voted as the most audacious advertising lie of the year. Many say its premium storytelling is a charge for ordinary water at a high price. In the end, the marketing story and the product reality are different. If you don't want to pay for packaging and lifestyle images, there are some alternatives you can think of. Alternatives you should know. Tap water in many countries has been rigorously regulated and tested more frequently than bottled water, and that makes it your perfect alternative. Municipal systems must monitor for bacteria, heavy metals, and contaminants dozens or hundreds of times per month, and they report the results to the public. Meanwhile, bottled water testing is less frequent and it isn't shared with customers. Because of this oversight, tap water often meets or exceeds the safety standards of bottled water. Many independent reviews by groups and organizations found no consistent evidence that bottled water is cleaner or safer than tap water in many regions. If you decide to drink tap water, you can use a reusable bottle with tap or filtered water. This might not be significantly safer, but it is also far cheaper and more sustainable. Tap water costs only a fraction of a cent per liter, while bottled water can cost hundreds or even thousands of times more for the same amount of hydration. Reusable bottles eliminate most of the plastic waste that comes from single-use water bottles. This is a waste stream where only a small percentage of PET bottles actually gets recycled, leaving the rest in landfills and waterways. Filling a reusable bottle from the tap, without a home filter, gives you convenient, safe hydration without the plastic waste or environmental cost of bottled supply chains. Should you avoid Smartwater? So, before you pick your bottle of Smartwater, it all depends on why you're buying it. There are situations where choosing Smartwater makes sense. If you're traveling, at an event with no access to safe tap water, or you simply prefer the taste and convenience of a portable bottle, it's not unsafe. Smartwater undergoes vapor distillation and has added electrolytes for flavor, so occasional consumption won't harm you. But keep some points in mind. First, you're paying a premium mainly for branding and convenience, not superior hydration or health benefits. Second, despite being BPA-free, it's still sold in single-use plastic, contributing to global plastic waste. And third, bottled water costs thousands of times more than tap water but isn't superior. If your goal is daily hydration, environmental responsibility, and cost-effectiveness, a reusable bottle filled with tap or filtered water is a smarter choice. You can still buy Smartwater, but don't buy it without understanding what you're really paying for. Smartwater, like many other international water brands, isn't what it seems like. It looks like special water gotten from unique sources, but it's actually just tap water repackaged. Do you drink Smartwater or tap water? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So, thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.